So you might expect delays on your Sony a7S III pre-order, unless, well, you're part of pro support, and maybe they might move you up in the line. Nikon releases some beta webcam software for some of their DSLR/mirrorless cameras, and YouTuber NoLife continues the saga of the Canon EOS R5 overheating story. Stay tuned. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's That One Camera Guy, back at again with a news rumor roundup video for you. Don't forget to drop a like and get subscribed if you're enjoying the content. Now let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first story on our list has to do with the Sony a7S III with potential delays in pre-orders. So if you're like me, you might have pre-ordered the a7S III early on, and you definitely want to get your copy on launch date. But it seems as if the order sort of was a lot more than they expected, I would assume. So this is coming in from Petapixel, I guess via Sony Alpha rumors here and there. Here's the story. Sony Japan has posted a notice on its website warning that they're going to have trouble keeping up with demand for the new Sony a7S III. Apparently, and to nobody's surprise, pre-orders of the camera greatly exceeded our expectations. And then you go to say some other things here. It says the notice regarding supply of the Sony a7S III. Orders of the digital single lens camera, the a7S III, which we started accepting on Tuesday, August 4th, have greatly exceeded our expectations, and it may take time to deliver the product. We will do our best to respond to your requests as much as possible. Please be patient. And if you jump over to their site, doing the translation, you do get that same exact warning about the camera. Moving on, the original camera announcement promised shipping would start sometime in September, but given this notice, it sounds like October is more likely. We reached out to Sony to confirm that these delays will affect users in North America and aren't limited to Japan, and we'll update this post if we hear back. These sort of announcements are starting to be pretty common, whether it's a Nikon lens, Canon stuff, or Sony a7S III. It seems that a combination of pre-release marketing and hype, and also COVID-related situations and challenges are making it hard for camera makers to predict and keep up with demand for their latest and greatest products. They do get an update here that a Sony spokesperson has responded to them for their requests, and they say, the customer response has been incredible and we are experiencing unprecedented demand for this model. We are also expecting to have a very strong supply. The notice you're referencing here is normal practice in Japan when they expect there will be back orders. Now, I'm a little not sure if this was a quote here, but I guess the takeaway from this, folks, is if you didn't pre-order right from the get-go, there might be some delays. But there might be a chance you might be able to get your order on time along with everybody else if you happen to be part of Sony Pro Support. Now, earlier today, or whenever you end up watching this, I received an email from Sony Pro Support. If you are part of the Pro Support program, there are some perks that you do get. And I received this email from them. And so if you are part of Pro Support, check your email and see if you got this. By the way, what they do is they prioritize Pro Support members to get the product ahead of time. So I think they did this for like the A9 Mark II, the Sony 400 2.8. So certain products, they kind of give you a little bump along the list priority for this. I think I've only taken advantage of this once, I think for the a7R3, I don't recall. But basically, let's see here. So, dear Sony Imaging Pro Support member, they recently announced the a7S III and they give you all the features. For a limited time only, Sony Pro Support members get a special opportunity to receive prioritized shipping consideration for their orders. If you already placed a pre-order with an authorized Sony retailer, simply click the link below to notify Sony of your order details and qualify for this limited time offer. So when you go ahead and try to confirm your purchase, they ask for date of order, the company that you're ordering from, order number, and your name and phone number, and that's pretty much it. And then I guess the way the system works is they just sort of prioritize the shipping on where you're going to land on that particular aspect of it. So if you've been wanting to get your camera sooner, you want to grab a7S III and you're part of Pro Support, make sure you go ahead and take a look at that email and check and see if you also got it if you're part of it too. Well, it looks like Nikon thought, well, since Canon did it, they should too. So it looks like Nikon has gone ahead and released some beta software to convert their cameras into a webcam for people that want to step up their video quality. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. This is coming in from DP Review. So Nikon, August 6th, released a beta version of its Webcam Utility software for numerous DSLR and Z series mirrorless cameras. Similar to the Webcam Utility software released by Canon, Nikon, and others, Nikon's Webcam Utility makes it possible to use a live view from your camera as a webcam feed for use with video conferencing programs like Skype and Zoom, as well as live streaming production programs such as OBS Studio. And they give you a list of currently supported cameras on the list. I kind of wish there was a few more options out there. Canon, I do wonder if people have tested some older cameras, but I know with Canon, there's people testing out all kinds of cameras that worked with a particular software. Unfortunately, there are a few caveats with this right now that I'm assuming will be worked out. Obviously, it is going to be done via USB and not HDMI. They do mention in the video from Nikon that you're going to want to use a capture card if you want better quality. There's no audio support. I don't know if that's the case for the Canon side of things, so you're going to definitely still want to have some sort of audio interface to get better audio. I don't think it's full resolution either, so I think with Canon it caps out at 540p. But for the most part, if you're doing this kind of like Zoom meetings and things, even just using a DSLR, the quality is going to be a much bigger step up from a webcam. Right now it's also only for Windows, so those of you that are on Mac are going to have to wait a little bit longer. Hopefully they release one for those. And I think they also mentioned the screen does turn off on the camera, so it helps with battery life. So I guess some things to think about. If you do go this route, you're going to need an AC adapter if you want it plugged in for a long time, or unless you want to go and swap out that battery. And again, don't forget you're going to need an audio source, like a microphone or something, to get clear audio for your Zoom meetings, if that's what you want to use it for. The saga continues. YouTuber NoLife has continued the testing for the Canon EOS R5. I'll have a link down below to his video. He has posted some really interesting results from his test, and I'll go and just do a quick summary on some of the points that he's come up with. In his initial test in part 1 of his Saga, he tested it with a dummy battery. So if you recall, he tested it with a dummy battery and no cards. He was able to get almost 4 hours plus of 4K HQ recording, which is fantastic. Then he decided to go ahead and put an actual battery in there, and it didn't quite change the situation. He was still able to record for a prolonged period of time until the battery died. So camera didn't overheat, but the battery died before anything like that even showed up. So that's also good news. Then he also did a test with the cards in the camera, and he still did decently with some of the testing that he did do. And we'll take a look at a chart in just a second here. He did find that the card was slightly warm, not hot, even though they weren't recording to the actual card. So I thought that was very interesting. And finally, he does clear up the question that some people had, that when he was using the Atomos recorder, that he actually wasn't, since he didn't hit record on the camera, he wasn't actually getting 4K HQ, but he seems to sort of debunk that in the video, which is a good thing. And I think the issue is if you turn on camera overheat control, you probably don't get 4K HQ, but that's just my current theory at the moment. But over on his site, he does post a chart here, and again, I'll post this also as well, similar to what Gerald Undone was doing, but I really like what he does here. He does a good job of going ahead and listing more information here as far as the time frames. Importantly here, if we want to point out for the external side of things, he makes two columns, one with the cards and one with no cards in the slot. So if you notice here in the 4K 60 cropped mode, he got 25 minutes with cards in slot. Without the cards in slot, he tended to do much better. Granted, he does note that he needs to do more testing here. And in 4K HQ 30 and 24, if you notice, with the cards in the slot, he got about 2 hours, between 1 hour to 2 hours of recording. And then when he had no cards in the slot, using a dummy battery, he did have the focus and IBIS on. He got 4+ hours externally to an Atomos Ninja 5. He does even mention some usability issues, saying whether it's reliable or unreliable, but he's talking about internal times here on the side. So green is usually looking good if you see a green little box here, if you're actually watching this and not just listening it in. So the point here to drive home is that there is something strange happening with the card in the slot. So I'm sure Canon's dealing with their ransomware situation right now, but folks need to, it's really good that people are seeing this happening. I hope that this can be brought up more about this whole overheating situation. He does also mention in the video that there's potentials for overheating from the cards and that there's some sort of throttling going on. So if you kind of follow the PC space with computer building and using NVMe SSDs, you'll know that when you're using NVMe SSDs in your computers, they tend to overheat if you don't have like a heat sink or some way to dissipate that heat. And so they also lose speed, right? Some of your NVMe SSD won't write at full speed if it overheats or gets too hot. So there could be something along those lines going on, and it is using CF Express, very fast data transfer, so there is heat building up. But it's weird that in his test he noticed there was some warming up of the card when it wasn't even being used. So there is something there, and maybe Canon can find a way to work around it, but it seems that the card itself could be the biggest factor in all of this overheating situation that's going on. Alright, that's going to do it for me in this newsroom roundup video. Don't forget to drop a like, get subscribed if you haven't done so, and let me know your thoughts down below about any of the topics that were covered today. And that's going to do it for me. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.